We're here to talk Wickr. One of my favorite things to talk about, especially at Reinforce. I've talked about Wickr at every Reinforce I've been at. It's a very interesting topic. Encrypted end-to-end chat, always deeply interesting.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here, following in Arvind's footsteps, and happy to shed more light on Wickr.
All right. So I think for the audience at home, maybe some are not familiar with Wickr. Do you want to give maybe just a little brief history, too, about Wickr? And because there's a longer history than just the AWS side of Wickr as well. So do you want to talk a little bit about what Wickr is and how we got to where we're at right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So what is Wickr? AWS Wickr is an end-to-end encrypted communication service. And so encryption keys are stored locally on endpoints. So it's a mobile app, it's a client on your desktop or your laptop, and it's a secure communications tool. It's file sharing, it's secure messaging, it's calls, it's everything that you would expect out of a secure messaging service. And so as far as a little bit, how it got started, why it was started. So Wickr was an acquisition that was completed back in June of 2021.
Yeah.
And so, customers were asking for an encrypted, way, a secure way to send messages, to transfer files, to basically communicate. And AWS went ahead and acquired Wickr, a private company, roughly about 2 years ago.
Yeah, and I think GA was pretty recent, well, just a few months
It
back.
was, yes. So I know you had spoken with Arvind back, it launched at reInvent back in November.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so there's been some exciting updates, and teams have been busy, doing a lot of new updates, new features, and just trying to get Wickr basically broader awareness, because a lot of customers don't yet know what it is.
So for our security newbies here on the stream with us, Jeff, this is to you, maybe. You deal with customers that have to communicate securely. Why is this so important?
Well, it's important because we don't want a third party, a bad actor, to intercept our communications.
Right.
And a lot of times you can just say, oh, I'm encrypting something, or you are told something is being encrypted. And in reality, maybe it's one piece of the pie that's encrypted and the rest is not. But Wickr allows you to have that full end-to-end encryption from the sender to the receiver.
That's the part, too, I was going to ask you, Eric. What does the end-to-end actually mean, right? So client versus server, is that where we're talking?
100%.
Okay.
So what it actually means is it means that unlike some other applications that might store the actual decrypt keys to encrypt and decrypt on the server, none of that exists on the server. It's all at the endpoint. And so, for example, say you're attending Reinforce, my first Reinforce.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah. If I were to lose my phone, I could go ahead and ping one of our admins in order to basically go on there and wipe the keys from my device and delete all those messages.
Very nice.
And so it means that the keys are stored locally on the endpoint. So.
And also, you could, like a server administrator, wouldn't have the ability to unlock the stuff on your...
Correct.
If you lost your phone.
Correct. So, for example, say I was in a room. So I was at Public Sector Summit last week in DC, talking about Wickr, introducing Wickr to customers. And what it means is, so say, for example, there was a group chat. The three of us were in it, and I were to send a message to the two of you. It means that every single time, each individual message has its own unique key. So the key that you receive AM is different from the key that you would receive on your device.
Gotcha. All right. So as I work with, I mentioned I'm an SA for the Air Force. This is very common. AWS announces new services, and then number one, are they commercially available? Are they available in GovCloud? We know Wickr is now available in GovCloud. The next question beyond that is, okay, what impact level, where is it FedRAMP-wise, SCCA, the DISA SRG? I think that's related to kind of what you're here to talk about today.
Oh, 100%. So I'm partly here to talk about, what has the team been up to since reInvent? And there's been 3 really big updates. You touched upon GovCloud.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were available in the GovCloud region. It's called WickrGov. It's the same cloud-hosted AWS service that we know and love. It's just obviously in a secure region.
Sure.
FedRAMP is coming. And so we are currently, FedRAMP Moderate is coming soon. We expect it very shortly. We are currently in the JAB, so the Joint Authorization Review process, expecting it very soon. And then also, we are on track and expecting FedRAMP High approval by the end of the year, ready to go by Q1 of 2024. So that will be IL5.
Yeah, so
cool.
just for our listeners, if you're wondering, FedRAMP Moderate would be if you have an impact level 2 workload. And we're not going to go into talking about impact level 2, 4, and 5. But if you know, if you're working with your ISM or your AO, and you know you have impact level 2, then you can actually run in the commercial regions. And that's what it sounds like Wickr has received FedRAMP Moderate. But when we're talking about impact level 4 and 5, that's FedRAMP High. And that's normally the GovCloud, AWS GovCloud is the perfect place for that, and it sounds like we're chasing that down for Wickr in GovCloud.
Correct, and I just want to correct one thing you said. You said we had received FedRAMP Moderate. We haven't received it yet. We're currently in review, in process.
Review. Okay, perfect.
So it's coming.
All
It's just coming soon.
Awesome.
I totally understood everything you both were just talking about. End to end, I understood it. Just kidding. So now I want to remind our viewers we're live. I've got chat pulled up. I see Jeff's got chat pulled up over here too. So hit us up with the questions all throughout the day. Please, please, please ask your questions. But Eric, encryption, it's table stakes at the end of the day, really. There's other features for Wickr that I feel like brings a whole level of enterprise grade to Wickr that we should totally talk about.
Oh, 100%. And I said that there were 3 updates that the team had been doing since reInvent.
We got 2 of those.
We got
right?
2 of them.
Yeah.
There's 1 more left.
Okay.
The other ones are fairly recent. Roughly about 2 weeks ago, we received our HIPAA compliance.
Oh,
and so
nice.
AWS Wickr is now, actually not just AWS Wickr. So let's take a step back. There's 2 form factors of Wickr right now. We have our cloud-hosted Wickr, and then self-hosted Wickr for those customers that want to run it on-prem, that are a little bit, scared of the cloud, and they want to be able to run and manage their own service.
Okay.
And so the 2 flavors of Wickr are both HIPAA compliant now. So we received our HIPAA compliance 2 weeks ago. That means it's also approved for PHI as well as PII.
Yep.
And that's a huge value add for a lot of our customers.
Yeah, the thing that jumps out at me at that is maybe running it at the edge, maybe in a disaster recovery zone where there's medical equipment, but there's still PII, and you need to talk. You need to talk to and have that encrypted. You need to give patients information over a digital communication. That and encryption at the edge is going to allow you to do that.
100%. And customers have been asking for it. Other services, there's been requests for HIPAA-related, communications features, and Wickr fills that void.
Yeah.
And so we're getting it out there. We've got some really exciting conversations right now with a select number of customers since its launch. But it is my job to get out there and spread awareness and basically, showcase what we have.
So in terms of other features that enterprises are looking for, like you mentioned, I believe, data retention.
Mm-hmm.
Can you list out some of these other what can Wickr do for me, right, as an organization?
100%. And so one big one that Arvind spoke about last time at reInvent that we're turning on very soon is so data retention.
Yeah.
Becomes really interesting. There's a lot of guidance from the government. National Archives and Record Administration has some strong guidance for a lot of agencies within the government to retain their data.
Right. It's a legal obligation in a lot of cases.
100%. And so companies are are asking for it. The government's obviously very interested and focused on it, and Wickr allows that to happen. And so I know Arvind last time went ahead and kind of detailed, how it works, how there's a bot that acts like a user in the room to go ahead and kind of let the user identify where they want to store their data. Is it going to be hosted locally on-prem? Could you point it to an S3 bucket? But nonetheless, that is something that's very interesting to customers. And there's another thing I want to touch upon that the team was also releasing that we're currently in preview. So one other thing that's very exciting for a lot of customers right now is our guest access. So it's currently in preview.
Interesting.
It's not GA, it's coming soon, but it's definitely coming and down the roadmap. And what it means, what is guest access? Well, basically what guest access is companies have a need to either communicate with contractors, with friends, with family, whatever entity or individual that company or customer needs to chat with can now set up a free guest access account and basically conduct communications under the same encryption that any Wickr networker customer could enjoy.
Very nice. That's cool.
So what constitutes a guest versus like a full user? Is it like a time limited usage or?
No, not at all. So right now it's currently set up under a 1-to-5 ratio. So for every one paid Wickr user account, you get 5 guest accounts. But as far as, are there any limitations? There really aren't. What you have to do is that there's a couple steps, but basically what happens is the guest cannot initiate a conversation with someone within the network. The network would have to, or not the network, but an individual from that network would have to initiate a chat with that guest user to basically complete the interaction to allow them to communicate.
That's cool.
I imagine there's some certificate exchanging going on and not allowing the guest to have their own certificate to start the process, or am I reaching too far in there?
I think it's just me being BD. It's a little bit more technical than what I can dive into. But
fair. Okay, cool.
But no, but customers have been asking for quite some time. Yeah. Honestly, it's been one of the big blockers that customers have expressed that we need to fix. And so we have. We're currently in preview, and those that are using it are seeing great value out of it, and they're excited.
Cool. I'm going to throw a question at you, and I apologize. This is kind of out of left field. Can you talk?
That's usually my role.
Yeah. Have we seen traction with the Snow family? Running Wickr on snowballs, and at the DC Summit, we announced Snowblade, and I could see for our warfighters, Wickr could possibly help with communications. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we have had some very talented. So the short answer is yes. We are seeing traction. We do have, our team is dedicated. We have a number of SAs that are working with that segment of the government. Last week at Public Sector Summit, our booth had two things on that screen. One of them was basically the look and feel of what Wickr looks like from the mobile app perspective. We also had the Wickr, the ATAC plugin for the team awareness kit. It was running off the mobile Jeep that was on the expo floor, running off the TAC server, and so the public sector was excited about it.
Yeah.
We make a plugin that mirrors the Wickr interface within the TAC ecosystem, and you can click on your colleague, send them a message, go ahead and call somebody, figure out where they are from a geolocation standpoint, and there's great value for that audience.
Yeah, this leads me to a question that I think our audience is probably wondering right now too, is, you're getting this feedback from customers, you've got these features, you've got calls, you've got video, you've got messaging. What are people using this for? What are some interesting things? This is one of my favorite parts about Wickr, is hearing what the customers are doing with it, because there's really interesting things going on. Yeah,
and so the short answer is yes. I will fixate on the most interesting one that I heard, 2-3 weeks ago, which is a customer, computer software company, wanted to go ahead and exchange passwords for contractors.
Okay.
Rather than open up their password vault to basically guests within their network, they wanted to mitigate the risk that someone accidentally opened up too much of their vault, and they wanted an encrypted way to basically send a one-time password they didn't want it with an email, they didn't want to grant vault access because I think they've had some scares in the past, and they wanted to go ahead and use Wickr. And so the guest access, especially which is in preview, was of great value. You could have basically a guest user on the account, a secure way to send them a password that you knew would expire. You know exactly what you're sending, and you mitigate the risk of accidentally exposing too much. That's really cool. And that's the most interesting one. And then we've got incident response and secure comms and everything else that, especially as it relates to the warfighter. But I think that's the one that stood out to me recently.
Yeah, it's always neat to hear outside of the box use cases you think, I'm going to talk to my buddies or talk to my coworkers, but this is a use case beyond that. It's always nice to hear cool thinking outside of the box ideas.
Yeah, and I know there's more out there. I know there's customer meetings I'm not in all of them, but I'm always excited just to read the voice of the customer, submissions that come in, understand how people want to use it, how they're using it, why they want to use it. It's limitless right now.
I can't believe you're not in every single meeting, Eric. It's disappointing to me. I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm sure there's a lot of meetings going on.
There's
obviously.
so many meetings.
Yeah, but this is something that I think Arvind and others on past shows have really highlighted is how people are out there using Wickr, how it facilitates things like Jeff's talking about here too, incident, and disaster response, right? Like because you don't have like a reliable network setup, you may need these devices in the Snow family to set up kind of a camp.
Yeah,
right?
it was nice to, if anyone was at the DC Summit, the disaster response vehicle was the Jeep.
I wasn't there. You got to tell me about this.
Yeah, it's a Jeep that has, I think, 1 or 2 snowballs in it, and it has TAC installed. And
What is TAC?
I forget what it stands for.
Okay.
Team Awareness Kit.
Team Awareness Kit.
Okay.
So the Team Awareness Kit, or TAC, has its full ecosystem. ATAC is Android, Team Awareness Kit,
Yeah.
and so we make a plugin for the Android system. There's also an iOS as well. But our plugin is just one part of that whole ecosystem. It's a secure communications piece, if you will. And there's integration with drones. You can integrate live video feeds. You can add in some AI ML tools to identify and recognize some of the objects within those video feeds. And the whole ecosystem gets really exciting.
Can you use Wickr? This may be a complicated question to ask, but can you use Wickr with a video feed from a drone to like keep that video feed
Yes,
encrypted end to end?
You can. You can.
That's super cool, actually.
And there's some stuff in the pipe. It might be a little bit too soon to talk about
Sure.
it, but yes, there's definitely some exploratory stuff that we have going on to for more interesting use cases.
Yeah, so for TAC, we install TAC server on a Snowball very often as a demo to kind of show, and then hand out either Android devices that have the client. So then you can have, as part of your TAC station, maybe radios to see aircraft around, and then everyone basically who has the mobile client is seeing that same map, can see where their friends are, and see, you have a map and say, oh, there's an airplane here, there's a drone here, my friends are here. But now the Wickr plugin allows you to then securely talk to the other members of your team.
Okay.
And so that sounds very familiar to like military type of operations, and the military uses TAC a lot. But drones are definitely could play a role in that as well. Because our disaster recovery team, one of their exercises is to utilize drones to scan disaster areas to see where
where you need to,
where the terrain has changed since an event, and then you have people out looking for maybe search and rescue operations. Wickr could be used for the secure communication with your teammates within TAC. So hopefully that draws a better picture with how TAC is used.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I had no clue.
Yeah.
Same similar, we talked a couple weeks ago with some geospatial ML features in SageMaker that are kind of similar to this. It would fit in nicely, it sounds like, where you're looking at the terrain, and if you want to just automatically have your model detect, oh, the terrain's different here. That seems like a pretty cool synergy.
Yeah.
I can't believe I just used the word synergy, Jeff.
That wasn't even one of our magic words for the day.
It wasn't. It's just me being just corporate over here. Anyway, okay, so we've got about a minute left, Eric. What do you want to tell our audience? What should they do? Should they go try Wickr? What's the deal?
Yes, I would encourage everybody to go to the console. So the cloud-based Wickr is available in the console, a 90-day free trial. I would encourage folks to talk about it with their customers, download it, install it. It's available internally as well. And so for anyone that wants to start using Wickr today, you can go on the IT, search it, and download it, and just get a look and feel and play with it.
There you go. That's pretty easy, right, Jeff?
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much for coming and telling us the latest updates and helping me with my customers talk about FedRAMP. And hopefully that's a better story. Hopefully we'll see it reInvent in November, and maybe we'll be able to talk more about IL5 then.
Oh, 100%. And I will be there, or Arvind will.
There you go. And we'll see you in just a minute when we're back with more.